So
Cool.
I guess it would be a good time to just start off by introducing ourselves. As you know, my name is Eric. I am your host. Welcome to the Mature-ish podcast. And my guest,
Don,
what's up, Don? How are you?
I'm doing okay. Just taking it day by day.
Cool. Yeah, your name on Facebook is Don Ducky. So I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, for a little bit there, I thought your last name might have been Ducky, but I'm like, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah. You can't go with Donald Duck, right? Your whole
No.
life? No. Yeah. I've got a pass, so I like to use Ducky.
Cool. That's your
Yeah.
street name.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Nice. I called myself Greb, Grebb, because of Harry Greb, the one-eyed boxer.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's good, eh? That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So I've had a few guests on here so far, and the conversation kind of goes a little bit differently depending on the guest, but I specifically wanted you on here because I know that you have had a very, we'll say, a flavorful and eventful life. And the stories that you tell are fascinating, and I think that the you'd be doing the rest of us a disservice if you were to not share them with the world.
Okay. Yeah.
So why don't we just start, like, where are you from?
I'm from Maple Ridge, BC.
Maple Ridge, BC.
Yeah, it's about 40 miles east of Vancouver.
Okay. And how long did you live there?
Born and raised, born right at Maple Ridge Hospital.
Cool. And what was it like living there? Like, did you live in the suburbs and so kind of
Oh
a
yeah, no,
rougher area?
we were spoiled as kids. We grew up in the 7,000 square foot house, indoor pool, sauna,
Wow.
jacuzzi, all the toys imaginable. $50 allowance every Friday. So we had a really good upbringing.
And how many of you were there? How many brothers and sisters?
I got two brothers, one sister.
Okay. And they're
Yeah,
all older, younger?
yeah. I got younger sister, younger brother, and an older brother.
Was
I'm
there a
kind of in the
big,
middle of. I'm the middle of the boys.
okay. Was there a big age gap, or are you guys all pretty close?
No, we're very close. Yeah, I'm there's a year between me and my younger brother, and Dave's 2 years older than me. So
Nice. And
yeah,
your parents, were they together most of your life?
all they've been together since day one. They're 62 years, I think it is. They've been married,
Whoa.
and I've never seen my parents fight growing up.
Really?
To this day, my dad still takes care of my mom.
Okay, that's beautiful. That's super uncommon. You got pretty
Yeah, I
lucky
know.
there.
Yeah, yeah.
And so this is gonna get interesting because the that really, usually with people who have checkered pasts, it comes as a trauma response from, abusive parents, or not usually, but often. So let's get into it. So was there a lot of roughhousing with between you and your siblings, or a lot of
Me,
discipline? Was it a
me,
strict household?
no, there was no, not really any rules, but uh, I would say my dad worked all the time, so mom
Okay.
really raised us, and my mom comes from a family of alcoholics. Um, as far as rules in the house, there wasn't a lot, but I was the one that did all the chores. My younger brother and older brother, they didn't do chores, so I was always like, "Why do they even get $50 every Friday? I do all the work, right?"
Yeah. So there's a little bit of tension there. Was your mom an alcoholic
No,
and your dad?
no, dad
They
never drank.
they never did any other drugs either?
Nothing.
Okay. And what about your brothers and sisters? Did they introduce that into the household?
My younger brother never drank or used drugs ever. He was a social drinker. My sister dabbled in it, the coke, for probably 3 years, got out of it, and she's been working in group homes for 15, 17 years now. And then my older brother, he just decided after his kids grew up and moved out of the house, it was time to sell off his stuff and go live on the streets. So he's been doing that for the last 7, 8 years.
Really?
Yeah.
And until then, he kind of was like straight edge, clean
Well,
cut, took care of everything.
he was an avid marijuana smoker, but he was responsible. He was good with money. Never always home for the kids.
Interesting. So what do you think made him decide to just completely turn his life around and not in the way that most people make that decision, but decide to go from a nice, well taken care of silver spoon everything served on a platter household. Not to say he didn't work for it, but what do you think made him to sell all that off to go to the dark side, so to speak?
Well, we've had lots of discussions through the family about that. And growing up, Dave played junior A hockey, and he was the tough guy. So he said, fight after fight after fight after fight. We just think there's a lot of mental abuse that went against his brain, like
Mm.
brain injuries. We never saw it going up, but he was always a loose cannon, right? And we figure there's some damage there from the fighting.
Interesting. And do you know if of any other mental illness that he might have been struggling with? Maybe he wasn't so open about it.
No, nothing, nothing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So back to you, what was it like going to school there? Did were you going to school with other kids who were in the I guess the upper echelon well taken care of, or were you going to school with kids who are a little bit closer to the poverty line?
Well, I got along with everybody. I was popular in school. Um, I mixed with the higher class kids, and I would also venture over to the party side. And yeah, I just went wherever the party was, and I was like the life of the party kind of guy.
Did you do well in school, like academically?
When I tried, I did. I I remember like grade 8 and 9. It was just getting by on C's, and then 10 and 11, it was like straight E's. Time to quit.
Straight A's?
E's. Yeah,
E's.
I didn't even show up to school. I would just skip out.
What made that switch?
Uh, well, my girlfriend's friend Diane, she never liked going to class, so she don't want to skip out. So I started skipping out with her, and we just really got along as buddies. And I supported her in her decisions, and I followed.
What kind of things did you guys do when you skipped out?
We go down to the dike, just sit on the grass, bullshit, smoke cigarettes.
What's
That
the
was about
dike?
it. Oh, it's called, it's down Neves Road in Maple Ridge. And it's a dike along the slough all the way through the farmland. We just
Okay.
yeah, we just walk up on the dikes there and do our thing.
And just kill time. Be a
Just
kid.
killed time. Yeah, she was just a good buddy.
Okay. And did you ever try using drugs while you were still in school?
No, never did any drugs in school. Just weekend parties.
Okay. How far did you make it in school? Grade 11, 12? Did you
Yeah,
graduate?
I left after grade 10. Um, I left after grade 10. I'll leave it at that. And
Okay.
we all went to work in a mill. A friend of ours, dad owned a mill, a sawmill, and 8 of us all quit together and went to work in the mill. Yeah, there was 8. Yeah, 8 of my friends.
And your
Yep.
parents were like fully in support of that.
They let me make my own decisions, right? They were always there though, and supported whatever decisions I made, even though my dad's a believer and you got to fall to figure shit out.
And what do you think about that tactic? Do you think they made the right choice? Or if you could go back and maybe tell them to do it differently, would you?
Well, I know one thing with my dad. He's always, if he always said if he could go back to those days, he would never wouldn't have gave us everything because we didn't learn the value of money. Um, to this day, even today, I don't put any value to money. I need it, I
Okay.
get it.
So how would you get it when you first it was going to the mill and that paid a little bit, but I imagine that didn't support the lavish lifestyle that you were used to. You probably saw the paychecks and realized, well, this isn't going to pay for a big indoor swimming pool in a 7,000 square foot house.
Yeah. Well, that's it was very easy for me to manipulate my father, and I
Okay.
would I need this for this reason. A lot of the times at that point, the lies were starting, and Dad was always a he's always been a giver, so he just uh, hands it over, right?
Seems like he was a good guy with best intentions.
100%, 100%. That's my father.
What kind of lies would you tell him? What would you tell him that you needed money for? And then what
Oh,
were you actually spending it on?
at that time it would be gas for the car, but I need it for booze, right? Stuff like that, or there's clothing on sale. I just don't have any money. I don't get paid till next Friday because I was working, um, but I was also missing a lot of work because my work was on weekends back then, and and my weekends were strictly for partying.
So Friday comes, you go to the liquor store, hit up a couple parties if they're around. Then Sunday comes, you finish her off Monday, you're all hung over, and that's probably when you started missing work.
Yes, 100%, bang on.
Fair enough. Okay, so how long were you at that job?
Well, that. When I was in high school, my jobs were gas station first, and it was funny, because I remember being out all night drinking, and I had to work on a Saturday morning, and I had called in a few times about I can't make it for this reason or the other, and then when I went in there to work that one Saturday, uh, I got fired. And I remember being so happy that I got fired because I can go drinking with everybody for the day, right? So
And
kind
at
of
this
how,
point, you were still living with your parents.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. How long, well, when did you move out of your parents' house?
Um, it was very sporadic at that point. I did get an apartment when I was 19, and again, my money was for partying. So when it comes rent day, I'd be upset because they want rent, right? It's
Those bastards.
yeah, those exactly. It's like it sounds ridiculous when I look back on it now, but I was like, they want me to pay my bill. What's wrong with them, right?
And
Yeah,
so then that caused you to move out of your parents' house and back into your parents' house a couple times.
a few times, more than a few times. Yeah.
And when you were moving out, were you moving out by yourself or with friends or with a girl?
No, by myself. Yeah.
Okay. And did you have parties at your place? Did you have a lot of girls over? What was it
Well,
like being independent after
yeah,
having that
we
kind
had
of lavish
parties.
lifestyle?
Yeah. I had lots of friends that popped around. Um, it wasn't long before I lost the place, and I ended up moving in with my brother and his wife. And it was cheap for me to stay there, and they kind of endorsed my drinking. They didn't care.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I moved out of my mom's house when I was 16 because I had just discovered hard drugs and I was like, well, I obviously can't be bringing this into my mom's house with a little one on the way. So my sister and I we rented an apartment. It was cheap enough. I was making enough money and then unfortunately, I was more concerned with doing drugs than performing at work. So after a year and a half, almost 2 years, I ended up moving back home with my mom and so I know I was actually just talking about this on the last episode. It's not moving back home with your parents, even though it's like, Stuart, you're not like, in your 40s living with mom and dad or 50s or whatever age you convince yourself is not okay. You're still a young guy, but having had your own place and then the regression back into moving with your parents, sometimes it's a massive hit to the ego, hey?
Oh, it is. It is for sure. Because,
Yeah.
but I always lived like I, it was very easy for me to get work. I had this gift of the gab, and I could talk my way into a job. I could talk my way into advances to rent a new place. Um, talk my way into vehicles, and there came a time where I started borrowing a lot of money through my parents' friends. Because
Oh,
there came a time where Dad just cut it off.
so you had to find other means.
Yeah.
And so were you lying to them or were you just pouring a sob story or how did you get them to give you money?
No, I would come up with different scenarios how if they invest this little bit of money with me, I won't tell you what it is, but I'll be able to bring you 1,000 on Friday. So they invest $400 in their eyes. They think they're going to make 600 on top of their 400 without even knowing anything. And they never got it back.
Was there ever any intention of investing it or multiplying their money, or was that just how you got them to give you money?
No, that was just so I could have money to look good amongst my peers.
Fair enough, fair enough. So that was your first scam that you pulled.
That was the first scam. And once I hit 19 is when I got introduced to powder cocaine.
Okay. And then your expenses suddenly shot through the roof.
Yeah, not so much at that point. I could buy very little and stretch it a long ways.
As it usually goes when you first start with things like that, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Until all of a sudden that changes. Well, not all of a sudden, gradual change and a slippery slope into a rapid decline.
That's right. Yeah.
So eventually, I imagine the well ran dry where you couldn't go to your dad's friends anymore. You had to start finding other means, and with drinking and cocaine in the picture, and the fact that you knew that you were able to take this money off, probably I would imagine that working a 9 to 5 probably started losing its appeal.
It's lost its appeal well into well, as soon as the cocaine came into play, the appeal to work was gone. I was trying different avenues, finding any way I could do a quick cash turnaround, and for the most part, it started working. Um, got myself into a little bit of trouble, borrowing money off the wrong guys. They actually were loan sharks, and
Oh,
it was just a small amount. It was $200, but in a month you had to pay 1,200 back. But
holy, that's some interest.
yeah, 1,000%, right? So it was like, oh, I'm borrowing 200. There's no way I'm paying $1,200 back.
You need the
So
200, you're gonna go where you need to go for. You're not thinking too far ahead for that.
not at all. I always figure I can talk my way out of anything, right? Even at that point, and I still wasn't seasoned the way I became down the road, right? And yeah, they came knocking, and the condition on uh, the $200 loan was I had to sign the car over to them
Oh,
as collateral.
collateral.
So I signed Mom's car over. She didn't know it. I forged her signature. So they came to pick up the car, and they had a tow truck out there. And at that time, I had a lot of good friends in the yard at the same time when they pulled up, and they were trying to hook up Mom's car, and a couple of these guys were bruisers too. They were ready to go to battle, and the way it turned out was at the end was they said for $200 loan, it's not worth our trouble to do what we want to do, and they walked away.
Wow, you got lucky there, huh?
Very lucky, yeah.
Yeah, if they were just having a bad day, that could have gone south real fast.
Yeah, yeah. But that's goes to show you, like, just another point in my life where I can talk my way out of things.
Um,
Okay.
So that was your first kind of like mishap, the things, something that could have gone wrong, but didn't. You pulled your first scam with your dad's friends, got into trouble with the loan shark. Was that kind of like a wake up call, or when you got away with that, do you feel like maybe you shouldn't have gotten away with that because now you feel a little bit more invincible, untouchable?
No, then it's just I felt like I'm running the show. Like I really did. I still remember it. Like people just seem to do what I say, right?
Okay. So what were some other ways that you found to make money? Because you can't just keep going to loan sharks and getting away with it forever.
No, that was the only loan shark. The only time I hit the loan shark. Um, I remember a family member saying to me, "Well, you're a talker and you're a good salesman. Uh, why don't you figure out a way to make money?" So I was just sitting in the car, and she goes, she said, "Sell something to somebody." So I said, "Well, you know what? What about cigarettes? I'll try selling cigarettes." So we went to a construction site, saw the guy's name on a sign, and I seen guys in the house working. I took his name off the sign, uh, a mental note of it, and walked into the house and said, "Yeah, I'm supposed to drop cigarettes off to so and so." And he goes, "Oh, what do you mean you need cigarettes?" And I said, "Yeah, I've got cartons of cigarettes, 30 a carton or four for 100." And I was just dangling carrots. And immediately two guys in the background says, "Well, I'll take that deal. I'll take four for 100." So uh, they opened their wallets. They each pulled out $100 each and put it in my hand. And I'm like, "Okay, well, let me go grab it." And I just went down to the car and drove away. Yeah, it was that easy.
So slick.
Yeah.
And I imagine you did that a couple times, right? Once you found out it works, I imagine now you're going construction site to site, right?
I not a couple times, probably a few hundred.
So this was your bread and butter for a little bit. This is how you paid the bills.
For the next probably 8 months to a year, I did that until it crashed.
And how did it crash?
Uh, People were onto it. The word was getting out, and I was up behind Coquitlam Center, doing the same old, same old. And guy said, "Yeah, I'll take. Can you get 50 cartons?" I said, and he said, "Yeah, that's a whole box." And I'm like, "I know," and I didn't know, but I just playing along with what he's saying. I'm like, "Well, that'll be $1,000." And he goes, "Yeah, no problem. I'll take two of them." And so I said, "Okay, well, let's go. I'll follow you. Are you follow me? And we'll go pick them up." So we went down to this gas station, and I already had a car out back, which this person was waiting out behind there. And I was in a stolen car. So I parked the car right in front of the gas station. Uh, these guys were right there. I went to their car window. They both handed me the money. I walked around the side of the building, got into the vehicle that was waiting for me, and away I went. And before I was even pulled into the parking lot, cop cars turned on their light.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. So I was like, I'm done. So yeah, so I went to the Coquitlam detachment, and they gave me a promise to appear. That was my first run in with the law.
And did you appear?
I appeared. Yeah, I got 3 months probation. So
Okay.
I felt rewarded.
How old were you at this time?
I was probably around 22, 23, somewhere
Okay.
in there.
So 22, 23, you had your first run in with the law. You got your slap on the wrist, and obviously, at this point, you're like, "Kate, that's it. The criminal life is behind me. I'm gonna go back to living an honest 9 to 5, be a functioning member of society." And naturally, this is well going through your head, right?
Yeah, no, that's not what was going through my head.
So what happened instead of that?
Well,
You still had your own apartment at this place, or are you still living with your brother?
I'm with my brother at
Okay.
this time. So,
And did he know? Did he know? Did he express his disapproval? Was he chuckling, or was he completely
no,
oblivious to it?
I didn't talk about my stuff. I just licked my own wounds and moved on.
Okay.
Um, so now I'm trying to think of different scenarios I can do. And I was talking to guys that lived in a clubhouse, I'll just say. And
Okay.
I asked them, would you guys be interested in any golf clubs? And they're like, yeah, if you got golf clubs, bring them by. So I started at Sears in Chilliwack, and I was going into there, just grabbing Arnold Palmer golf sets, which were 999 a set. I'd put 10 in a shopping cart and push it out. And I'd take it to them and I would trade it for $250 in Coke. Yeah, it's crazy when I look back on it because I hit every Sears from Chilliwack all the way to Richmond. If there
And they
was a
just
Sears,
watched you walk out the door with them. Nobody stopped you.
nobody stopped me until Coquitlam Center one. And
Okay.
I walked out of the Coquitlam Center one and I got through the two doors. And when I got on the sidewalk, the brick doors on the side, there's metal doors. They came flying open and all these guys ran at me. And I was like, now I'm in trouble. Right. And he goes, we finally got you. You've hit all the Sears. And I just kept staring at him. I said, wasn't me, but I knew the gig was up, right? So again, I go to Coquitlam Detachment and released on a promise to appear. And I got a 6 months probation and I didn't have to pay it back.
And then at this point, you said, all right, so time to turn my life around. Time to get a good job,
Yeah.
be the man that my parents know I could be, right?
Well, no, that's not how it went. I fast forwarding, I was doing this for quite a while, and then
You went back to the golf clubs while you were on probation
yes, yeah,
to the
yeah. I went
same
over,
Sears.
not those ones. I went over to Vancouver Island.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I went over there and did a run there, and then came back. But this was not always the same thing. I would pick my moments, selling cigarettes again, and I also switched over to selling booze.
Actually
And,
selling booze or just claiming to be selling booze?
well, yeah, no, I didn't have any booze for sale. I didn't have any product, put it that way. I came up with a scheme of putting a business against another business, and by this time I'd already tried crack too. Um, so I was in the crack, but it was I didn't at that time I didn't think crack was running my life because I didn't use it all the time. But I wanted to have big amounts of money because I want to look like the man, right? And so yeah, I'd go into one business, grab a business card, go over to the business within one block or two blocks, and say, yeah, this is my dad's restaurant. I don't know if you've met him or not, but due to serving minors, they're going to be closing us down. So we can't operate without a liquor license. So I had, there's a company that does a lot of auctions. I won't say their name, but I use their name as my, I guess, catchphrase kind of thing that they'll be auctioning off everything in the restaurant on I'd give a make believe date like 2 weeks from now, and I would tell them that due to federal reasons, we can't put alcohol or food into an auction. And that was a lie. Federal reasons. I don't know where that came from, but it just kind of came off the top of my head. And then they'd say, "Oh, okay, yeah, we're interested. What do you got?" And then I'd pull out my pre-typed list and show them what I have. And they're like, "Oh my God, $150 for 8 bottles of 1.14 liters of Crown Royal, rum, vodka, Kahlua, Bailey's, all the beer, flats of beer are $10." Yeah, they took huge orders. So it was some of the orders they would take would be $4,000 to $8,000 all at once. And a lot of times they would try to give a check, and I'd tell them right away, we're in receivership. We can't take checks. It's just cash. So they would say to me, "Okay, well, can we get it right now?" Yeah, I'd go with them because don't want him out of my sight. I'd ride in his vehicle. We'd go to the bank. He would grab the money. We'd go to the pub. And then once we're there, it's a little bit more of a song and dance because I wanted everything to look realistic so that when we went into the restaurant, first thing I look for is the name on the tag. And in this case, her name was Tony. I still remember her. I'm like, "Hi, Tony. We're just going to sit over here. We got to do a little bit of business." And she goes, "Okay, just bring us a cup of coffee." And we sit down, and I'm filling out an invoice book of all this orders that he wants. Um, and then once that's filled out, I'm like, I hand him the invoice. He literally hands me the money. And I'm like, well, let me just check with the kitchen, see if we're ready to load you up. And I just stick my head in the kitchen door, and my go-to line then was, "Yeah, do you guys make chicken wings?" And they, and but for
A
me,
pub or restaurant, do you make chicken wings?
yeah. So I would say that, but the reason I'm sticking my head in is because the envelope in my hand, I'm dropping down my shirt. So now that I got the shirt or the envelope placed in there, he thinks I passed it off to the kitchen, but really I've got it on me. And now I come back and I said, "Yeah, they're just loading up somebody in the back. Will be a few minutes." And then I walked back to the kitchen a few minutes later and I asked if they were ready. And I look like when I come back to the table, I got that panic look for him to grab your car, go around the back of the building right now. The door's open, all your stuff's sitting there. And he walks out the front door, gets in his flat deck. He pulls around to the back, and as soon as the taillights disappear, I shoot across the parking lot and I'm gone. I've got all his money. So I did that for, oh my God. We went from Nanaimo to Kamloops, me and this girl. And I, the amount we arrived in Kamloops it was huge money. Like we had tens of thousands between the mattress when we were there.
And you were making thousands of dollars with every score.
Multiple thousands, yeah.
And so would you hit like a few scores in a city, or would you just hit one and then move and then dip so that you wouldn't
No,
get
we'd hit a couple. We'd hit a couple, and then we get a hotel room, and then before jumping from say Ladysmith to uh, Nanaimo, we'd hit one in Ladysmith, go to Nanaimo, hit two, and then get on the ferry, grab one in Vancouver, Abbotsford, Chilliwack, uh, did one in Hope, went down to Kamloops, over to, oh man, I'm trying to think of the town. I guess it doesn't really matter at this point. I knew what we were doing it was wrong, but it was so easy to get the money. And again, over the amount of months that went by while we were doing this, my crack amounts consuming increased huge. And on that run there, we finished off when we got to Calgary. So it was we had a lot of money when we arrived.
So that actually brings up something I actually meant to ask is in your back when you were doing the cigarettes, did you have an accomplice there? Was that just something you did on your own?
No, I did a lot of the stuff on my own, but I always had a driver. I would do my end of it, everything, but I'd have a driver in place.
Okay. And then with the booze, you had this girl that you were with. How did you meet this girl?
Crack den.
Okay, fair
Yeah.
enough. And so was it her that influenced you to try crack for the first time?
No, no, it wasn't. It was a friend of mine from Maple Ridge that got me to try it at
Okay.
27 years old.
So you were already using it when you met this girl.
Yeah.
And what was it
Yeah.
like meeting her?
Well, it was interesting because she made credit cards. So that piqued my interest big time.
Similar
I,
interests.
oh yeah, very similar. Yeah. Yeah. It was
Okay.
quite a operation going she had.
So you saw her, you were attracted immediately, we could say.
Oh yeah. And it wasn't
And
her looks.
no way.
No, it wasn't the looks at all. It was
And
what I could get.
she was attracted to you immediately as well, or did you have to put on a game and try to
No,
convince her?
I didn't have to put on the game because the dealer that I bought off of it at that time knew her. And down the road, I found out all this. Um, this dealer told her where I was, so she was seeking me out.
Oh,
So, yeah, very interesting. Eh?
yeah,
Yeah,
very interesting. So she already knew your game, your situation before you even
yeah.
knew she existed.
I didn't know that she knew all this, but she seeked me out. She knew I could get money fast. Don't know how, but was one to find out.
Okay. And so were you the one that came up with the liquor scam, or did
Yeah.
she?
No, that was my thing. Yeah.
Okay. And so you proposed that to her, and she was on board immediately, I imagine. She probably just trusted you because your reputation preceded you.
Well, she didn't believe any of it, but she couldn't deny where my money was coming from. So after about a week at this place, where I'm coming and going, she did her homework on me for a long time, eh? And then she befriended me. Um, she even went as far as to making sure I had crack in the mornings when I'm running out. She would have it. She was a speeder, and uh, yeah, she would. Well, let's go for a drive. She had a pickup truck, and then when we're driving, she goes, "I don't know where you're getting your money or how you're doing this. I want to know." So I told her the whole story, and she goes, "I don't buy it." And then she's like, "Well, let me pick a house. See if you can uh, see what you can do." So she drove through the subdivisions. She goes, "I want this house. Go see what you can get out of this house." And that's when it just on a spear of the moment, and it was like uh, I kind of looked at myself at that point as an opportunist. So a scenario played out in my head, and it was like, okay, I'm going to be a fisherman from the Queen Charlotte's servicing my fishing accounts. And that's literally how I broke into selling fish door to door. I went knocked on the first door, said I was their neighbor's nephew from the Queen Charlotte's servicing my accounts in BC. And my aunt and uncle thought you might be interested in some fresh seafood. And they're like, oh my God, yes, we are. Very interested.
Easy
So I did.
sell.
It's an easy sell, right? And I give her the little wave over my shoulder. She's like, oh, I know what she's thinking. All right, I'm like, fuck, he's in there. And I went in and I walked out with almost $700 because I got her to phone all her family and to make sure, because my line inside the house was, I will be going back to the Charlottes at 4 a.m. So if you got any family members that want any seafood, this is the only chance. I won't be back for 6 months. So that was a way of getting more cash.
And then you'd go and see all their family, or would this one house just buy on their behalf, just give you cash to go meet all their family after?
Not on this case because it was a big amount, and I know they don't know me for Adam, right? but I've gained their trust already because they invited me into the house. So that I always waited to feel that trust, and you know it's there when you're invited in. That
Yeah.
was a given, right? But she wanted to go pick it all up right now. She was so excited, and I took her. I'm just going on a drive now through subdivisions looking for anybody in a window, and as soon as I see somebody in a window, that's the house I want her to pull into. So I'm pointing and I'm like, right here, right here. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. And she pulls in and I run up. I said, okay, well, just wait. Let me run up to the door. And I tell her that their garage is made into like a refrigerator. And I don't know if she's going to open it or if she's got it ready. Oh, okay. She buys my bullshit. And I go up to the door and I'm like, they answer and I'm like, yeah, we're a couple doors down and we were playing frisbee. It landed in your backyard. Is it okay if I run to the backyard to get it? And in this case, she goes, yeah, no problem. So I'm pointing to the side, like to the doors and that. The person in the car sees, okay, this is legit. And I run back to the window. I say, here, give me your money and turn your vehicle around and back it in. And she gives me the money. I go down the side of the fence, jump a few fences, and I'm gone.
You're just making all of this up as you go.
Yeah, literally, literally.
So like if she would have said, "Oh, hang on, I'll go grab the frisbee for you. You just wait here," then that would have been the whole thing spoiled. You're just running down the street on foot.
No, I would have just went down. I would, that scenario has come up, and the lady said, "Well, I'll just go grab it." So I just run back to the car and I just go down the side of the fence, and I see her, and I'm like, "Hi." I just keep jumping fences, and I'm gone. At that point, I don't care. It's get the money and get out and go smoke my stuff.
Wow. And so this is the fish scam you pulled in BC still. So this is before you came to Calgary.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. And so
yeah.
then so you do that a few times, what, for like a year? Are you like exclusively doing that, or are you just kind of jumping back and forth from these different scams, just whatever the opportunity,
No,
whatever that moment is?
the fish scam was, I was making money like crazy. Um, uh, yeah, I don't know what more to say about that. It did come to an end though. That came to a end with jail time.
The
Um,
fish scam did.
yeah.
How'd you
I
get
got
caught doing that?
um, there was guys. This is funny. Well, it's not funny, but there was two guys sitting in. It was on Scott Road. There were a couple East Indian guys sitting at the just at a table eating, and it's getting dusk. And I need to trying to make some money quick, and I didn't know what to do. And same thing, scenario played out in my head. I had my day timer that I always carried around on me with everything printed out in there, and I just walked up, sat at their table, joined myself to their table, and I was, oh, hi guys, sorry it took so long. Anyways, I've got this was a double hit because I know East Indians, they love their Johnny Walker Red Label and Johnny Walker Blue Label. And I learned that from when I was doing the booze sale. So that came into play with the seafood. And they're looking at me like, who are you? And before they could say anything, I was banging off prices of Johnny Walker at $150 for 12 bottles. And I don't know if you know Johnny Walker Red and Blue Label, you're getting up to, well, the blue, you're looking at $150 for a bottle.
Hmm.
And when they hear they're going to get a case of it for $150, they're digging in their wallet, right? So I went through with the whole scenario. They're interested. They're looking at spending about $4,000 by the end of our conversation. And I said, well, let's go pick it up. And in my head, I'm going to do the frisbee scam to backdoor them. And anyways, we walk out. I'm walking. I'm just walking. I don't even have a vehicle there. And I just point to a vehicle in the parking lot. I said, yeah, with the amount of guys, things you're picking up, I can't use my car. And I just point to a car. I'll have to ride with you. And they're like, oh, okay. So we get in the car, and I'm taking them down through subdivisions looking for that elusive woman in the window or man, whoever. And I find it. Anyways, I walk up to the door and I knock on it. I say the frisbee thing and go back to the door or to the car and I'm tell them to, okay, pass me the money. She'll give you a receipt. It'll be done. And turn your car around and back in. So she does this and she says, I will get the frisbee, but I've got the money at her front door. These guys have now turned around. They're a couple East Indian guys. They probably were guys that I shouldn't have done this to, right? And I see them slowly walk into the door. So I just open this woman's front door and I run straight through out the back door, through the yard, jump the fences, and I'm on the run. I've got all $4,000. I'm on the run. I've been up for probably 4 days at this time. It could have even been longer. And I'm running and ducking into bushes, ducking into bushes, trying to get to a certain area. And I figured I was in the clear. I didn't know where I was at this point. I was all disorientated. And I hear tires screech and I see their silver Mercedes going in reverse to come back down the road I'm on. And now I'm in a panic. I'm running to the left, to the right. I jump over this fence and boom, I jumped over the fence to the house I ran through the house with, and the cops are in the backyard. So
Oh,
that's how I got arrested. Yeah.
brutal. What a
Yeah.
turn of events, huh?
Yeah, it was pretty brutal.
Yeah, and being up for 4 days probably contributed to that. You clearly weren't thinking clearly.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't. It's
What,
just
you never
at any,
returned to the scene of the crime.
well, this guy did.
Well, yeah, you also thought you were on top of the world and the rules didn't apply to you.
I really did. I just thought, I'll never get caught. I'll always get away with lots. And it didn't even dawn on me about who I'm burning, what bridges I'm burning. My family's in real estate in Maple Ridge. I've been on the front cover of Province paper when I got arrested for the fish scam. I remember how mad my dad was because it hurts his business. But you know what? Even at that point, I didn't care. I couldn't wait to get out of jail and get high again.
Yeah, drugs make it a lot easier to hurt other people and not feel bad about it. Hey,
Sure does, yeah.
so so that time you got arrested was on an alcohol scam. So did you also get caught doing the fish scam?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay,
They
so
they they can
which one was first? Did you get caught doing the fish scam first, and then you did the alcohol scam with those two East Indian fellows?
Yeah, the fish scam. Well, they bought some seafood too, right? So
Okay,
it was kind of I incorporated both little scams. Everything came to a halt on the fish and the alcohol that day when I was arrested. And I remember laying in my prison cell now, trying to figure of another scam. How can I do this again? Right? It's all I knew at this point, and there's no way I was going to stop using dope.
and you were really good at it. I have to say, you were an artist.
Well, you know what? I always had this scenario in my head under my circumstances, and I set up the scenario, I'll get anybody. That was my honest truth belief,
Yeah. And
right?
it's really unfortunate that a lot of people had to suffer. And so like I'm happy you're not doing that stuff anymore, but I have to say there was a lot of skill and a lot of like I don't know many people who could come up with those types of scams just on the fly, just on a whim, just to impress a girl, no less.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, fast forward a number of years, which if we get to time, we'll get into. But I remember the cops saying, "I don't know why you do these scams. You're the only one that does them. So as soon as one's done, all the precincts know in the Lower Mainland, you're back at it, right?"
Yeah.
So,
And you got because, like, I imagine people get ripped off for that fish scam or the alcohol scam. They're filling out a police report. So that when you get caught finally, you're not just getting caught for that one, you're getting caught for all of them.
All of them, yeah. At that point, I had about there's tons that never came forward too, but I ended up with 87 convictions at that point.
And is that the time when you went back into that person's backyard and saw the cops there?
Yeah, they were one of the charges, but I got convicted on 87. I pleaded out to 80.
And so how much jail time did you have to do for that?
I got 18 months.
18 months. And so that's
Yeah,
in provincial.
provincial. Yeah.
Okay, and in BC, so it wasn't really even that bad.
No, I went to minimum. I was working in a uh, the outside gangs they called them, and I was at a fish hatchery, and I could fish all day on the lake.
While
It was
you're
like,
in jail.
yeah, it was like I was rewarded. Rewarded, right?
Wow.
I literally sat on the dock 5 days a week. I'd cut the grass around the cabins, and then he said, "We'll be back up at 3 to pick you up." And I would just sit there on the dock. The worms were in the fridge, and the rods were on the wall, and I just catch and release all afternoon.
Holy.
Yeah,
And
it's
were
like
you sober for that 18 months?
I was, but I had some plans.
Some plans.
Yeah, yeah,
Tell me
I
more
had.
about these plans.
Well, I came up with this idea of getting, if I could only get credit card numbers, I could I could get hooked back up with the girl from the crack house because that was her gig. So I when I finished that, I looked her up. We got together. I still hadn't had any of these credit card numbers. She had said, "I'm going to bring you to a place. I feel I know you well enough now." And she took me out to 32nd Avenue in Langley, and it was a rancher house, but to the right was a junkyard. And she pulls up to the junkyard, and I'm like, "What are we doing here?" And she goes, "You'll see." So we get out of the vehicle. She walks up to, it's literally a junkyard, like it's fridges and ovens and all kinds of fencing. And she just grabs this one little part of it, slides it over. It's on rollers, and there's a big, uh, like a jail door. I'm like, wow, this is odd. She unlocks it. We go in. She shuts it all up behind us, and it's like a pathway down this junkyard. And we get to another point. She slides this other part over, another door. She unlocks it. We go through. She shuts everything. And the last door we came up to, it was just a swinging door, and there was two trailers sitting there. And from one end of the trailer to the finished end of the trailer was all filing cabinets, embossers. It was a whole credit card making outfit. And there was crack sitting there waiting for me. So that's how I got back into that. Got busted with that. Ended up with a down like it went for quite a I'd say close to 2 years we did that. Um, I ended up getting a 5 year sentence.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how'd you end up getting caught?
The crackhead. I'm careless. I don't care about cameras. All I care about is getting what I have to get and get back to the car to do my thing, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair. And
Yeah.
so, well, so you were in jail for 18 months, and this girl, she was what was she doing when you got caught? Was she driving you around still at this point, and then you just didn't talk to her for that 18 months? And
Yeah. This girl, when I went in for the 5 years, um, she ended up getting shot and killed in the back streets of Langley when she was picking up her stuff. Uh, that same guy that killed her killed another guy the weekend before. He was a hired hand. So I'm like, oh my God, count my blessings. I wasn't with her because I know she did a lot of collections, and Uh, she tended to keep what she collected, right?
Oh,
Yeah, it was a bad move on her part, but not a very good move on his part because she was. I liked her. She was fun to be around too. She wasn't just all business, right?
and did you hear about what happened to that guy who shot her? Did he ever get his comeuppance?
Yeah, he got convicted. He's in Matt Sweet prison right now. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
He got convicted quick.
And so did you hear about her getting shot while you were doing your 5 year bit?
Yeah, yeah,
Who
yeah.
told you about that?
Just another guy that was in there that I knew from Langley, and he goes, "Oh yeah, you hung out with so and so," and I said, "Yeah, how's she doing?" He said she's dead, and then he told me the story.
Wow. And that must have hit you pretty hard, hey?
Yeah, stuff like that. I don't know. I just go nature of the beast, man. If you're in the game, your days are numbered from the get go. Eh?
Did you have feelings for this girl? Because you were kind of more or less dating her, right?
No, we weren't dating. There was nothing intimate between us. It was just strictly business. She took
Huh.
care of me when I slept. She made sure that thing was melted on the pipe for when I woke up because that gets me going. Right. So
And so
yeah, it was.
you were like the strictly platonic Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Bonnie and Clyde came later.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so let's not get ahead of ourselves here. 5 years in the penitentiary now. That that's not an easy thing to do. You're now in a
No.
federal institution,
Yeah.
different crowd, different criminals, different guards, different protocols. What was that experience like?
Geez, I'll tell you. I remember driving up to it, and I was like, "Oh my God, they're going to put me in that with razor wire." I'm not a bad guy. I don't need to be excluded from society. I remember running that in my head, like, how did I do this?
It's quite the
Uh,
change up from fishing all day.
it sure is, yeah. And I'm like, but you know what? Even though I was going there, um, well, I'll back up a bit. My initial entrance into the building and the different people that I met while going in, I'm like, oh my God, these guys are gangsters. Or either that or a lot of them were down and out. Once I got to where I was going to be housed, it was a whole new ball game. There's lifers everywhere. People have been in there 20, 30 years in some cases. People that are never getting out, sex offenders, rapists. Um, I quickly was told the rules: don't falter off them, or you're going to get it, kind of thing. Um, uh, there was a lot of I could see all the chaos going on, being in the crack dens I was, and the drugs that were in there. You could see that it was alive in there. It was everywhere, and the guards turned a blind eye to everything. They just can't be bothered as long as you're quiet. I'm not doing paperwork. Fly at her. We'll Narcan you guys when we can. So that was my take on when I got there. I'm pretty easy going, and a lot of these gangsters, they thought I was funny as fuck, eh? And right away they want to know your paperwork, what you did. And so uh, they kind of looked at me like, "You're awesome, man. You come up with the best ideas ever." So when I was like, I'm liked around here. So the first sentence of 5 years went well.
And you
And
did the
it's
full 5 years in the institution.
no, I ended up getting out on 1/6 of my sentence because it was my first federal sentence.
One
So
sixth.
yeah, one
So what did
six.
that equal out to? How much time did you end up
Well,
doing in there?
I did a year in remand, which was double time at that time.
In
So I had
BC.
yeah, so I had 4 years left on my sentence. So when I got sentenced, I had to do another 8 months and I was released.
Wow, that's a lot better than 6 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds bad, but you don't do a lot at the time, right? Not your first offense. And I knew this going in because I had lots of talks with my lawyer. You're going to do no time, just plead, right? And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I can't go there that long. I want to use dope, right?
And
But I
so
managed.
dope was very much around there. Did you manage to stay sober while you're in there, or did
I
you
stayed sober the whole time. I
the
didn't
whole
touch
six?
dope. I, the only reason is right off the first week there, I saw a lot of bad beatings for guys that fronted dope that couldn't pay. There was guys on floor two. They called them the bruisers. And if they're coming off floor two to a room, it's too late. There's no talking your way out of it. And seen a lot of bad beatings. I've seen on that bed, I saw 4 guys that overdosed within those 8 months that died inside. So it's like, and then people were saying people are hot capping people inside that don't pay their bills. So it's like, that was enough to scare me from not using.
And hot capping for someone like me who's not familiar with the lingo.
Yeah, they're taking you out. You're going to die right now. Yeah. They
And
just,
that's something that guards will just turn a blind eye to because they don't want to do the paperwork.
well, they chalk it up as an overdose, but you hear through the grapevine, they were hot capped.
Yeah, and it's probably pretty vicious the way they do it.
Yeah, well, they think they're getting a line of coke, they're getting a line of carfentanil, or they're getting a line of fentanyl.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Brutal.
time.
So they make you look
Yeah,
like an accident.
yeah, that's exactly how it happens.
And what was it like seeing the beatings? I imagine that probably stuck with you a little bit. Hey,
Oh
makes it a
yeah,
little harder to sleep at night knowing that that's happening right around you.
the first guy I saw, he was made to put his fingers in the door, and he was like pleading with him. I can't do that. I can't do that. And you know, they'd give him a shot here and there, and he had to do it. And they slammed the door on his fingers and broke all four. Right? Yeah. So yeah, it is stuff that sticks in your mind. Um, yeah, it's embedded, doesn't go away.
No, hey. And you saw a lot of that? Was that a frequent
Yeah,
occurrence?
every day, every day there was some kind of violence, nonstop. Yeah,
Brutal. Well, if
yeah,
there's any more that you think would stand out, I mean, feel free to share them.
yeah. Well, right at the top of my head right now for that first 5 year bit, no, but one that happened to me on my current bit I'm on right now. I've uh, I've been on parole. I'm done my parole next year, a year from now. But when I was in, I took a bad beating.
What'd you do to earn that beating?
Well, we have a little pizza oven on the range, and you can you buy a pizza on Canteen, put it in there, boom, you got a pizza. In this case, I'm already mad because I'm trying to talk to my daughter and family life at home. They don't want anything to do with you when you're inside. Anyways, they took my pizza and just threw it across the floor, and not thinking, I just reacted. I've said, "You fucking goof piece of shit." Fucking throw my pizza out. And I realized I said the G word, and goof does not fly in jail. Um, I just went back to my cell. I actually took my glasses off, set them on the desk because I knew somebody's coming in. I just didn't know when. I was kind of looking at my TV, looking at the door, looking at my TV, looking at the door, and in the end, 2 guys came. They were a couple native guys, and I just was like, ah, right. So they pounded the shit out of me, right? They stomped my head while I was on the ground. My eyes were closed, black, both of them. All I had was 2 little slits to look out of, and I I remember them saying, "Do not come out of your cell," and just so you don't heat out the range, right? Because they see my eyes, they're going to want to. do an investigation, look at the cameras, blah, blah, blah. So for the next 3 weeks, I just sat in my cell and I got room service. They brought my food. And after it all ended, they kind of, everything was squashed, did the knuckle punches, and everything was okay. Right. They knew,
Wow.
in their eyes, they knew, okay, this guy's solid. He didn't go to the bubble or even talk about it. I just left shit alone. Right. It is what it is. I knew I was out of line, and it was a bad
Your
price.
behavior was corrected.
It was corrected real quick. Yeah.
Yeah, you were reminded of the rules.
Yeah.
Suddenly you don't feel so invincible.
Yeah. No, that's right. That's right.
So that we skipped up ahead a little bit there. I imagine there's probably some interesting events that happened from your first federal institution bit, where you did what, 6 months after your year in remand, or 10 months in remand.
Yeah.
And you got out of there, and since we know you did another one, I guess it's safe to say that you didn't come out thinking, okay, time to turn my life around.
Oh God, no. No, it's crime school in there, boy. There's guys that wanted me to drive dope across the country. There's guys wanted me to do this, do that. When I got out, um, from that sentence, I there was a guy in there I met that said, if you interested in a car when you get out, give me a call. And he was in for explosives, 100 keys of cocaine, and a machine gun. So I was in my head, I was like, he's probably not the best guy to call, but he says he's got a car lot. So, anyways, I looked him up, and we just chatted on the phone the first day, and then he calls me 3 days later and asked me if I wanted a job, and I'm like, oh, he knew I was a painter at this point, so he's says, yeah, it pays 5,000 for the day, and I'm like, what? Right? He goes, well, meet me over so and so. We'll talk about it. So I go and meet this guy, and I'm like, what the hell am I going to do for 5,000? And he says, well, this car in Surrey, we just want you to drive it to North Van. And I'm like, and then what? He goes, when you get over to North Van, you're just going to go over underneath this underpass, pull over to the side of the road on the right. A truck will pull up, and he'll throw a envelope on your lap, and then you just get out of the car and walk. And I'm like, okay, it sounds, the money part sounds good, but are you sure this is it, right? Kind of thing. Anyways, I was desperate at the time, and I'm like, okay, let's do it. So I went to the meeting point, got in the car. Oh, and the one stipulation was, don't look in the trunk, don't open the trunk, don't go near the trunk. And fair enough. So as I'm driving, and it was about 4 in the afternoon. And I started thinking while I was driving, what's in the trunk? And a million things went through my head what it could be. Anyways, I just drove along. And at this point, I was like, oh, you know what? Someone's probably following me to see if I'll look in the trunk, right? So at that point, absolutely not. I wasn't going to do it. So I just followed the instructions, got to North Van, pulled under the underpass. I was just instructed not to look at, sorry, somebody just came in. I think they got family thing coming in here. Uh, I was not to look at the driver, and uh, after that, just walk straight up to the little strip mall. So it played out exactly that way. Guy came up, threw an envelope up the thing. I went, and I had $5,000 and made my own way home. So to this day, I always wonder what was in that trunk, but it's probably a good thing I don't know. But I did get that call again the next week to drive another car, but I didn't do it. And that
Had a
was
bad
pretty much
feeling, huh?
real bad. So that was pretty much the end of our relationship too. He moved back to Korea.
Really?
Yeah, I knew that much of him. And the car lot that he had in Richmond, it's closed down. So I don't know. I don't know anything. Don't want to know anything. But it got me mobile,
Got you
which
back on your feet really quick.
yeah, it got me back on my feet really quick. But all the wrong motives, and I'm back into the drugs.
And this, you're single at this point. You don't have a missus.
At this point, yes, I did. I was with my current wife, now ex-wife. She knew a lot of everything I was doing.
How did you meet her?
I met her outside of a treatment center. A friend of mine at the treatment center had to go pick up some tools at a house, and she was just sitting there on the chair, and I'm like, "Who is that?"
Okay. So you went and you introduced yourself?
I did. I did. We hooked up. A month later, we were living together. We were we were having a daughter, and I was still using. Things
Was
weren't
she
going well.
using as well?
No, I was hiding it. She didn't use anything. She didn't even drink when I met her.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Slowly, I introduced her to the liquor. She drank years prior, but quit for whatever reasons. I don't know. And started drinking. And then after about 3 months living together, she found a crack pipe. And that opened up everything.
How'd she take it?
Not good. Not
Not
good.
good, eh?
No.
So that was a point of contention in the household.
Yeah. Yeah. Big time. Caused a lot of issues. I was all over the place, at this point. Um,
Meaning you were still doing your fraud, your scams, staying up for days on end.
yeah, yeah. But I came up with a new scheme too. So now I was going to grocery stores, getting PIN numbers as they pay for their groceries, following them home. I would park my vehicle at the end of their driveway, wait for them to get out of their car, lift the hood of my truck, and I started waving my hands like I was overheating. I already know their PIN numbers. I just got to get their wallet. And I would tell them, I say, I'm overheating. I need water. A lot of the scenarios they would say, well, you can use the hose here. And I'm like, I can't use the hose. It's overheating. It'll crack the block. I need warm water. That I don't think that's true or not. Anyways, as soon as they would go in the house, I'd go over to their car, grab their wallet. I got their PIN number. Most cases, I wouldn't even wait for them to come back. I just get in the car and go. I would go down to the bank machine, hit $1,000, and my favorite ringtone on my phone was. It was crazy time, man. It was, yeah. And then
What
I
do you
would
mean
tap
by
it.
your favorite ringtone on your phone?
I had the bank machine.
Oh,
Once, yeah,
that went over my head. Yeah.
yeah. It was just, I was like such a smart ass back then. I just thought nobody's ever getting me again. Right. I look back on it now. It is what I can't change it, man. But those went on. I ended up getting another 5 year bit.
So
And
hang on, before this, before you got that bit, your woman found your crack pipe. She's pregnant at the time. Does she
yeah,
think that you're working an honest job, or where does she think all this money's coming from?
she thought I was working an honest job.
Okay.
Yeah, I honestly wasn't. I
Yeah.
was
You hadn't worked a day since you were at the mill.
pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Well, I know I wouldn't say that my brother did have a painting company that I was living with at that time. And he would call me when he needs somebody in there. I'd go in there and spray everything. So I always knew
Okay.
how, so I could always fall back on painting.
So you had a baby on the way. Um, how did you get caught, and how far along was the baby when you got caught?
Kaylana she was close. No, she was about one. Well, she was making words, and
Okay, so she was already born, and you were pulling this one scam for quite a while. with the
Yeah.
overheating block, and that was how you were supporting the family. And at what point did your missus find the crack pipe? Was she still pregnant, or was
Oh
Kaylana
yeah,
already born?
she was still pregnant, and uh, she was still pregnant. Um, I was leaving to work, coming home. I would I had paint clothes on. I had a can of paint in my trunk. I'd put it on my fingers, face, body. Right. I
You
I
con
sold it
artist.
when I came home. Yeah, and I would crawl into bed. Um, no, this is where it gets really twisted. And she would fall asleep, and as soon as she'd fall asleep, I would slide off the engagement ring at this time, take her chains off her neck, order the dope, sit up in the living room, smoke it all night. And when she got up, I would just pretend I'm sleeping. And uh, that night, I got up, I left, I went to work. Wasn't going to work though. I still had dope. I went down, sat by the river, and cars are coming and going. And all of a sudden, hear the horn toot, and I look to my left, and it's all right. And she's like, "You fucking piece of shit, sitting here. Are you even working?" So then that's when I came clean of everything and um, talked her into back then to try it. No, not until Kaylana was born, right? I was still doing my little scores on the side, going along. Uh, then after Kaylana was born, that's when I tried it. She liked it, and it was perfect. We're both using, got a daughter we're trying to raise, and it wasn't long after I'm back in prison again, right?
Yeah. How did you get caught this time?
Oh, I didn't care. Well, I was downtown Vancouver when I got caught backing out of a back alley because a guy stabbed me 4 or 5 times in the legs trying to rob my pockets, and I backed into a cop car. So he had I looked at him, oh, sorry about that. And right away he jumped up and he's like, no, stop. We've been looking everywhere for you. Then he radioed, all these cars came, and uh, yeah, and then I got this 5, is another 5 year sentence, and completed 3 years, 8 months of it. Got released to a treatment center in Calgary. I transferred up here because the idea was that my wife, uh, daughter will move up here once I'm out. Uh, all that went to hell. Been using ever since. Yeah. Um, then, uh, yeah, that didn't work out. I stayed clean 3 years, 8 months inside. Went to a treatment center, Sunrise, completed it. Excellent job. Got a car financed. Uh, on her way up here, she hit the ditch with the little one in it. She got an impaired, and got her into Sunrise. She quit that, moved in with me, and it wasn't long after that she brought coke to the house, and now we're both back at it. And Kaylana's on her way, and the rest of the story is just back into jail because I used. Gone back now. I don't. I know they're in BC somewhere. She's she's won't tell me where they are. Um, a lot of things are up in the air. I'm kind of lost, but where I'm at right now in my recovery, things are going well. I think I could be doing better, but I'm a lot more aware of what I have to do to stay balanced.
Hmm. Could also be doing a lot worse
Oh yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
you went you went to jail 3 years, 8 months, and you didn't use anything.
Nothing. Not a thing. Not a
Stone
thing.
cold sober. And then you went out from having 3 years, 8 months into a treatment center, graduated that.
Yeah. Yeah.
In that last pen bit that you did, 3 years, 8 months, was that the hardest one? Was that the easiest one? What was that experience like?
I find it was the hardest one because I was more in touch of who I am as a human and what was important to me. And getting up in age too, it was like the guilt I felt for abandoning Kaylana for that long. I called her, I never missed a day calling her. And uh, my number one thing that kept me clean in there was there's no way I'm going to let the call come to Kaylana, your dad died in prison of an overdose. And that kept me clean.
Hmm,
That alone kept me clean.
that's good. And what was a social thing there? Is it just as violent? Because this was in Calgary that you did the time, or in
Yeah,
Alberta.
Drumheller. At this time, I was quite a ways along in my sentence, so I went right to minimum and pretty much minimum to cakewalk. Just you got to put in the time, do the workout. They had a couple houses that they build for the indigenous people on there that I was able to paint those houses, and it kind of tuned my craft again. And yeah, I had a real easy go. I got along with everybody, didn't cause any issues. But again, in minimum, loaded with dope.
Yeah, hey.
Yeah,
So was
I
it
had
really
a, I
hard
had
then, staying clean?
no, I had a pretty good gig. I didn't have a lot of money, and everybody used, so they bought my piss for $10 a bottle. That was my income. Yeah,
You gotta
yeah,
do what you gotta do.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you got out, and so while you were in there, you were talking to Kaylana every day, and what your plan was to get back with her immediately. And that did go to plan, didn't go to plan, because you
yeah,
ended up with her eventually for a brief little bit.
yeah, yeah. I had right from the get go. It was for me be doing that 3 years, 8 months, jumping right back into the family setting, the 2,500 months rent, plus I got the car right away. That was 614 a month.
How did they
So
finance you a vehicle with your history of fraud?
I'm I'm relentless. I had to go so many avenues to get this thing to go, and
Was it
had
all legitimate?
oh yeah, yeah, it was all legit. I had piggyback other people's credits to get a credit score that would qualify me.
So you got like cosigners and all that.
No, it's not a cosigner. It's the piggyback system. They said it's new and it worked. So
Interesting.
yeah, it was, but yeah, it was just a lot of pressure on my back, but I was still maintaining sobriety. Um, the relationship was shit though. Like I literally got this big beautiful 3-story house, full backyard that we're living in, nice car in the driveway, really good job, and I
And
would
your
sleep in
job
the
was you were painting at this point.
yeah, I was spraying parkades. Yeah, I
Okay.
was spraying parkades, and great job, great company I worked for. Um, it was just a lot of pressure. There was a lot of pressure mentally trying to pick up where I left off when I was not sober, and then trying to hold all the pieces together. Um, if I could turn it back, I would have went a different route. I wouldn't have jumped right into that family life, ASAP, car, house, job. I would have taken things a lot slower. The uh, the end results are, I don't know what my daughter's thinking. My wife won't talk to me unless she wants to yell at me. They won't tell me where they're living in BC, and I'm still doing what I have to do to stay clean. So
That's good. So we're kind of coming close to like the present day now.
yeah.
Before we kind of wrap this up, why don't you tell me a little bit about what that relationship with your missus was like? Because you know, we have a little bit of the picture up until you got into jail, but other than what you've said so far, was it overall a was she wholesome? Was she toxic? Was she good for you, bad
Oh
for
yeah.
you?
No, she was toxic right from the soon as we seen each other. Like just the attitude alone, the uh, the way she treated me. Um, she would like the hurtful stuff she would say, you know why I walk ahead of you in the mall? Stuff like that. And I'd be like, why? She goes, because I'm embarrassed to be with you. Look at you. You're pathetic. Stuff like that.
Wow.
It sticks. And it was just a carbon copy of what our whole 12-year relationship started as, right? Um, she'd get mad at me for making a sandwich. She demanded me do the dishes. She demanded me sleep in the basement, unfinished basement. It was like nothing. It was a shell. I took a mattress down there. Um, my paychecks I gave to her. It was just like nothing was mine. Nothing was mine. Right.
And in the end, she left with your daughter.
She left with my daughter.
And
Uh,
was she faithful throughout this relationship?
oh God, no, definitely not. There was lots of scenarios uh, of her unfaithfulness. Um, I even caught her in one good one. I had to prove my point, but she didn't buy it. She still kicked me in the head like it was my fault. Right.
How did that go?
It as usual. I take her home, drop her off, hit 7-Eleven, grab some rock, start again. Right. I always hid my problems behind the rock. Right.
No, was that kind of like what kept you guys together? Because she didn't seem too interested in keeping you around as a father. So was she sticking around to so you could supply her dope?
No, she stuck around to get my money. And as soon as like this little stint of us living in Calgary, I didn't give her any of my money. And that the animosity started from day one that I said, no, this money's mine. Right. I was paying the rent, I was paying the car payments, and any other money I had, I was mine. Like, don't get me wrong, I got her a job with us, so she had her own money. I would still give her money here, fill the tank, buy Kaylana stuff. There's lots of things I did with my money, but she likes all the money put into her bank account like we used to do, right? I wouldn't have any part of doing that anymore.
Well, now you're able to draw a little bit more of your boundaries and enforce them.
Yeah, yeah,
Would you say that treatment played a part in that?
yep, 100%.
Helped your
Yeah,
self-esteem a little bit?
yeah, it definitely helped my self-esteem. It's, yeah, I think I got a long ways to go with a lot of things still. And I think it's a lot of damage from the prison system.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, yeah,
institutionalized.
felt that a lot. And even to way I used to be to the wing drop of a dime, go knock on a door and grab myself $500. I couldn't do it today. Just it's not there. And that's years in prison. I did that. I still
That's
got my
good.
drive to succeed. I just don't have my drive to do things wrong anymore.
Well, you're sober now, so it's a little bit harder to live without a conscience when you're 100% dead sober because those things stick with you, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
So do you live with a lot of regret?
I do. tons of regret, not only for the people I've taken from. I don't know how to do amends on those. I'm working through that with my counselor here, Addie, and forever, forever, Kaylana, like she's losing out on a dad, right? And I, when I was very hands-on father. Like my wife's quick to tell her that your dad's not your dad. He's your father. He's just a seed. Remember that. A dad would do things with you. So it's hurtful. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And I've seen how you talk about your daughter, and I can tell like there's nothing you want more than to be in her life. Like I remember you showed me that book that you drew for her, a
yeah,
little picture book that you drew for her while you were in
yeah, that's
prison.
right. Too. Yeah,
The whole story, you stapled it together, and you even made a rough draft and a good draft, and you sent one to her, and your missus said that she gave it to her, and then you asked Kaylana about it, and then turns out she never even got the book, and that put my
yeah,
heart in a vice grip, man.
yeah. She no, she never ever did give it to her. Kaylana knew nothing about it, and Kaylana's got a sharp little mind on her. So I knew then that it was never given to her. And that was the second one I sent to her. There was one before too, right? So I took a lot of time in these, and I just wanted her to know how it's
That you're
just a
thinking
real,
of her.
yeah, like constantly, yeah, yeah,
That's heart-wrenching. Well,
yeah, it is.
I really do hope that something happens where you're able to be in the picture for her again because every girl deserves a dad. Every boy
Yeah.
deserves a dad.
I'll never give up my rights to be a father ever, and I'm sure she knows deep down that I'm fighting all the way for her. Right?
So now that more or less brings us to the present, and I'm sure I have no doubt that there's tons and tons that you didn't cover. Like honestly, I think
Yeah,
you should write a book because you've lived a life that you could fill volumes with it. You know what this conversation really reminded me of? Have you ever seen the story Catch Me If You Can about Frank W. Abagnale?
watched it just not too long ago here downstairs at
Did you
Fresh
relate
Start.
to that?
Oh, you have no idea. You have no idea. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's same kind of thing, right? They just opportunists.
Yeah, so that that book has sold millions of copies. That movie has made millions of dollars. You never know. You might be leaving money on the table here. I
You
think people would
know,
want to hear your story.
if I could figure out how to write a book, I would do it because my dad's told me that, and you're not the first person to tell me that, eh?
Well, I strongly encourage you to do it. And if there's anything I can do to help you with that process, I am happy to do it. You know, because I love writing. I'm not the most talented writer in the world, but it's
Yeah.
something that I have a lot of passion for.
I'd love to look into something like that. Yeah.
We'll get into that together. So now that
Okay.
that brings us kind of to the present day, what's your kind of your plan moving forward?
My plan moving forward from here is I've saved my jobs. I'm going back to work. I'm going to stick it out in Calgary. Um, I'm going to keep connected with the program guys. I've got a good sponsor right now. I'm going to work with my sponsor um, and just live each day, day by day.
Yeah,
I'm not looking far ahead anymore or worrying about what's behind me.
good for you.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I think you're doing the right thing. I think that anybody who's heard this can see clear as day that you have an amazing head on your shoulders. You you're very intelligent, and so I think that I personally have faith in your ability to move forward and do the right thing. I think that you'll build a good life for yourself, and I personally believe that you will be able to get in regular contact with Kaylana, and I think you would be an amazing father for her once you're given that chance.
Yeah, time heals, doesn't it? And I do appreciate your words there. So thanks.
Yeah. I personally had a pleasure. This is an amazing time for me. I could tell that there were parts of it were that were a bit difficult for you to talk about. Hey,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
so
Yeah,
I want to thank you profusely for making the effort to have this conversation and how open you were with everything.
I appreciate the time with you for sure.
I appreciate it as well. Well, this we stay in regular contact, so I'll be keeping in touch with you, and as soon as this is mastered and edited, then I'll get the episode off to you, and you can show it off to everybody. And who knows, this could be a good starting off point for your own platform, your own books, your own movie. You might be famous.
You never know.
Could be leaving money on the table. You've had one of the most most interesting lives that I've heard of. So I do encourage you to
Yeah,
pursue things like that.
I appreciate that.
All right. Well, if there is there anything else that you want to say to all two of the people who are probably going to hear this?
No, it's a lot to try to unwind in the short amount of time. Um, Obviously, there's several keys points that we never got a chance to speak about, but who knows? Maybe it'll be in a book one day.
Yeah, I definitely think it should be in a book one day, but also, this doesn't necessarily have to be just a one-time thing. I would be happy to have you on future episodes of this podcast. So yeah, I mean, we'll talk about that in the future. And I just want to say, don't go into your room and just sit in your head. I do hope that you're going to reach out to your support group and do something that makes you
Oh
happy
yeah,
because this is a very heavy experience that we just had, right?
for sure it is. For sure it
Yeah.
is. Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, I encourage you to try to keep yourself a little bit lighthearted for the afternoon. And again, thank you so much for this conversation. You have no
Awesome.
idea what it's worth to me.
Thanks. Take
All
care, bro.
right, Don. You have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Bye.